Well, that was my first scorpion sting, and I went to the clinic in El Valle. It was pretty quick to see a doctor. First, they stuck a needle in my right finger. Then they stuck a needle in my ass. So between the scorpion sting and 2 needles, I've had quite a day so far. And then the doctor had me come into the room where the prescriptions are, and he talked to someone behind the counter, and he just told me to sit and wait. And I waited there for like 40 minutes and nothing was happening. And so I asked at the counter, and the girl said, you have to go to the other woman. And I went to the other woman, and then they were writing a prescription and then sent me out to go pay for the prescription. And I was just like, I don't have time. I just don't have time. He was just gonna prescribe basically like paracetamol and Benadryl. So I'll just go pick that up at the pharmacy and get home and probably put some more ice on the sting. This is up at Las Nubes restaurant, which is beautiful, as you can see, and the food is delicious. One of my new favorite spots. It's actually not that new. I guess it's been there for a couple of years. You do need a reservation, and they don't serve past, I think, 5 o'clock because it's dark on that road getting downhill. That was very fun lunch. Veronica, it's awesome to meet you. And Rita, but I don't know if Rita is watching this. And now I'm gonna go home and hermit. I was gonna garden this afternoon, but as you can see, it's raining. And so gardening will have to wait. It might be a nice afternoon to just take a nap. If you drive past the entrance to Las Nubes, you can find the Gaital hike, and so that might be a nice way to spend a day. Go for a hike at Gaital and then lunch at Las Nubes. This was a whirlwind day down in Coronado. I came down just to get cat food and pick up stuff at Fastbox, and I ended up getting a new mattress to replace my saggy mattress. And then I figured it was time to replace my lenses and my glasses. These are my old frames. And so I'm gonna wear these for like 8 days until the new frames, the new, glasses are done. But mine lasted 4 years, and the eye doctor said that generally 2 years is a good lifespan for lenses. So I don't feel bad about having to get new lenses. Of course, you're always really careful when you first get your new glasses. These are actually less scratched than the ones I've been wearing, but these are a different prescription. They're like, I think 2 generations before, when my eyes were a little better, but they'll still help me see distance. I miss my little agouties. I can't wait to get back home and feed them lots of fruit. I'm waiting for the elusive wood rail. There were 3 of them in the yard playing, chasing each other. So I immediately threw bread out, and now I'm sitting here waiting. I am heading down to Coronado. The 71 had some mudslides in the past couple of days, so there's probably going to be some debris. If you're driving in rainy season, I think I've said it before, just be very careful. Don't leave your sunroof open in case there's falling rocks. Don't pull over on the side of the road, because what looks like it could be solid ground will most likely just be mud, and then you'll get stuck. I speak from experience. I've been in ditches. I've fallen off roads, kind of. I might be exaggerating a little bit. I picked up my new glasses. I mean, it's the same frames, but I just got the new lenses. Oh my gosh, what a difference. It's incredible. Yeah, I should not wait 4 years again before getting another pair if they get all scratched and foggy. It's awesome to be able to see. Hello there from very cold Massachusetts. Oh my goodness, my body is not used to this kind of weather. I thought since I was here, I would share with you a little bit of the observations that I'm making of differences between living in Panama and being back in the United States. So a couple things actually struck me before I left to come back to the States. I have a pet sitter taking care of Feather, and when we were going over things about, the house and cat care, she said, "Oh, what day is trash day?" And I was like, I have no idea. I just put the trash in the bin outside, and then sometimes they pick it up regularly and sometimes they don't, and it stays in there a while. But I honestly don't even know the day of the week that the trash is supposed to get picked up. And then I was going to catch a bus from town to Panama City, and she asked, "Oh, what time is your bus?" And again, I was like, I don't know, because that's not really a common thing. There's not really like a bus schedule as far as, oh, this bus leaves at 11:15. That bus goes to David at, 2:45 and 4 o'clock. So you just kind of show up at a terminal or at a bus stop, and the bus usually shows up. I do think that there are different schedules for Sundays. I know there's also really not many buses that run, I don't think any buses run at night, but some of them will run maybe till like 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock, or going in, very short distances. So it was just interesting to have that of note to myself, that I've gotten used to not really having like this sense of timed activities as far as, the trash pickup and the bus schedule. I will say it was easy to get to Albrook, which is, where the bus goes from El Valle. It took about 2.5 hours. And then I was going to take an Uber because that's more recommended than using a taxi. But there was a very nice man, and I asked him ahead of time, how much to the Riad Aeropuerto Hotel. And it was basically exactly what I would pay for an Uber. And so he brought me to the Riad Hotel. Because I've been driving quite a bit, I started out in Maryland and then came up to Connecticut and then Massachusetts. So obviously I've been driving quite a bit, and that is also something that really stands out, is the quality of the roads, the signage, the amount of, service centers, gas stations and rest areas, and, and having a shoulder, like a proper shoulder on the road where you can pull over and no one is speeding past you on the shoulder of the road. Also, it's really refreshing to have truck drivers obeying speed limits. So just that kind of order to the highways, the, smaller streets. There's some streets that, I'm like, hey, am I back in Panama? But for the most part, the streets I've been driving on have been well paved, well maintained, well marked, well lit. And in general, yeah, the signage is good. And there are areas in Panama where that's good. I know, like, when I've driven to the Chiriquí province, there's a big stretch of the Interamericana where the road is in great condition. And I mean, there are no services around there. So if you are driving, make sure that you stock up on some water or snacks in Santiago and use the restroom, because it's pretty slim pickings between there and David. But yeah, that's something else that I noticed while driving here in the States. Also, big difference is, there really are a lot of community centers, libraries, senior centers, public parks. And there are parks in Panama, but it just kind of stood out to me just how many there are in, so many different communities, even like rural communities where, my sister-in-law lives, and there's walking paths that are well maintained and crosswalks that are bright with reflectors on them, and there's bike lanes everywhere, and they're also well marked, and are in public places. That's something also I've noticed, a big difference from being in Panama and not having been in the States for 2 years, and now having my time here, being back. I'm just kind of aware of those things. So it has been nice to see all the different variety of products, in stores. It is one of my favorite things to do, is go to grocery stores when I'm back in the States. And I love seeing these things, like, and going into Trader Joe's really did kind of break my heart because of all the products I used to get and love, and just don't have them. And Trader Joe's doesn't ship internationally, and a lot of the stuff was fresh. But I will say that the overwhelm is really noticeable. Like, I feel much better having my small Ray grocery store, and you might see asparagus sometimes, broccoli sometimes they're out of onions, sometimes they have artichokes, they never seem to have dill, but I would rather have that than like this kind of like overwhelming feeling of being in these bigger stores with so much selection. If I really want something, I can go to the bigger store in Costa Verde, like the Reba Smith there is huge. But I think I've really gotten used to, and I actually appreciate, just my kind of small town life. And I guess I've adapted to, that there's not going to be everything available all the time whenever you want it. It's not like I cook all that much. I mean, I'm making a lot of hummus, but that's pretty easy just to get chickpeas, and there's not really like yellow lemons all the time, but that's why I planted a lemon tree. So I like seeing all the things, but then it's also just kind of overwhelming. The prices are definitely higher here, just at stuff that I'm, looking at in the store, grocery stores, and then at restaurants. It just seems like they're higher, a lot of the prices. One thing that I am enjoying is having a bit of small talk with, clerks at the grocery store, or, a little shop, or even the gas station. Um, I definitely feel much more connected with people because I can understand and communicate very easily. Um, I can say hello to the guy at the gas station. I can say hello and thank you and, have a nice day at Fastbox or at the Ray. But, this is noticeably different where, I can be engaged in a conversation, and that feels nice. But it does feel really strange to understand every conversation that's going on around me. And I don't really like that. I kind of like having the insulation of not understanding everything. Like when I'm in Panama, it's because it's not distracting. So I can just really be, in my own thoughts. But when, there's English being spoken all around you, you're like tuning into all these different conversations, and um, it's a little, disorganized. So I do like actually not being able to understand everything that's going on around me. But then that said, the other side of the coin is I do want to get more fluent in my Spanish because I was visiting with a friend, and we happened to be eating somewhere where the waiter was Spanish speaking, and he asked, like, so how's your Spanish? And I was like, más o menos. And she said, you've lived there for 6 years and you still don't have, Spanish? And I was like, yeah, and I guess that is kind of bad that I have been there 6 years and I don't have fluency. But, that goes back to my limiting beliefs about not being able to learn a language, and not creating a habit to get back, well, not get back into it, because I really didn't have anything more than like Duolingo. So I would like to make more of an effort to acquire Spanish. The last thing I have on my little list is how much I truly appreciate living in Panama, and especially just in a warmer climate. It's really uncomfortable in the cold. My body's just like hunched over, and there's so many layers you have to wear. I borrowed a coat from my brother. Thankfully, he had like this big, thick coat. But you have a scarf and a coat and then a bag, and then you go inside somewhere and it's hot and there's no coat hook, so you just have to hang on to your coat, and the scarf gets tangled up in the bag, and then like a wind comes by and then you're freezing, and it's just not fun. I love like the lush green of Panama. Like right now everything here is brown and red, and I missed, the fall colors because a big wind came by and blew everything off the trees. But I really appreciate the tropical climate, the greenery, the flowers, like the birds, the animal sounds, the nature. Just I so appreciate living in that, falling asleep to, the sounds of the wind, and the frogs, crickets, and waking up to the birds, and having that climate just be so temperate that, shorts and a t-shirt is all you need, and maybe you wear a shirt because it's a little chilly, 1 or 2 nights, or if you go inside air conditioning. Also, you know, my skin is much better in the tropical climate, in the humidity. Although I do think I kind of like my hair in this climate. It just seems like it feels a little healthier to me. But I have static cling, which is weird. But that's just been something I've noticed too about being back here. You know, there are temptations about coming. I kind of like have temptations about coming back to the States only to be closer to, you know, family, especially, you know, my brother with his condition, and my aunt who is 96. And it's just been really nice to see family and friends, people who know you. You know, you have like that longevity of a history, and them, you know, knowing each other like for, you know, 30 plus years or 40 plus years or 50 plus years. And, you know, that Trader Joe's, very tempting. But no, I don't think I'm going to be moving back to the States. I don't see myself moving back to the States at all. But I was thinking, oh, maybe I could come back for like 6 months and, you know, I could work at that Trader Joe's and get a nice discount and visit with my family and bring them all sorts of goodies. So anyway, those are my thoughts about being in the States, and I'll be back in Panama soon. Thanks so much for watching, tuning in, and I'll see you next week.